Well, with the playing of that music, you know that it's a weekly duty we have to do to go out to the other coast of the United States to hear about some mediocre films this time of the year. Hello, Michael.
Oh, man, sometimes I blanch at statements like that, but pretty damned accurate. Yeah, the mediocrity is strong in movie land during the January and February months, but I got a gem in here, maybe two. Let's get down to it. Sonic the Hedgehog. It's a product-driven, forgettable, and disposable 100 minutes written by committee, family and gamer-aimed color and noise, built around the cutesy, pint-sized, computer-generated, blue alien creature who can move at hyperspeed and spew snarky one-liners. That's it. Let me just say here and now that he looks like no hedgehog I've ever seen away from a video game. James Marsden plays the human nice guy small-town sheriff who is planning to take a job with the San Francisco police force until Sonic zaps into his life, pursued by a government black ops unit run by the fiendish, mustache-twirling Dr. Robotnik. I'm not kidding, that's his name. And speaking of kidding, he's brought to manic life by a scenery-gobbling Jim Carrey, whose show Kidding just came back on Showtime and is a better use of your time. Anyway, Carrey's unleashed even beyond his performance as Count Olaf, the villain in Lemony Snicket, an unfortunate series of events, which is a better and way more artful, family-oriented movie in all ways. How much better? That's like Citizen Kane crossed with Duck Soup, The Wizard of Oz, and the entire Godfather trilogy next to Sonic. Boy, this is product. Boy, this is formula. It really did nothing for me, and maybe it's because I never played the Sonic the Hedgehog video game, but this is using IP to poison America and the rest of the world. Sonic the Hedgehog, you're left to your own devices if you like the character. All right, more disappointment. There was Promise to Downhill, which is a movie about an American family on a vacation in the Austrian Alps, and this vacation goes wrong in a variety of ways. First off, the movie features a team-up of Will Ferrell and Julia Louis-Dreyfus as the dad and mom. These two comic actors got their respective starts in the business as cast members on Saturday Night Live, albeit in two entirely different eras. In fact, Downhill, which is an American remake of the darkly funny, award-winning Swedish movie Force Majeure, is the first time that these two guys have ever worked together. Alas, the sum is quite inferior to the parts. I'm not a big Ferrell fan. I mean, I liked Elf and Anchorman, but what Julia Louis-Dreyfus did in series after series of Veep was hilarious. And to be fair, you know, she had the benefit of a brilliant creator at the helm, Armando Iannucci, like a top comedy writing team, and a letter-perfect ensemble cast. Even the greatest screenwriter in the world couldn't have done a good job of adapting Force Majeure, I think. And here we had Jesse Armstrong, who he created Succession. He just won an Emmy. He was one of the creators of Peep Show, one of my favorite sitcoms. He couldn't concoct a script that would do justice to Force Majeure. Basically, this shows what happens to a husband and wife already on shaky grounds when a controlled avalanche is set off at the ski resort where they and their two young sons are staying. And yeah, it's all downhill from the avalanche. Neither lead is likable. The movie isn't insightful or witty enough to sustain interest. Only Miranda Otto, as a bawdy Austrian ski lodge kind of entertainment director, provides any fun and energy. And for the record, it was directed and with Armstrong, co-written by some pretty able TV talents, Nat Faxon and Jim Rash. Don't see this bore. Rent the sharp and bent Force Majeure instead. All right. Here it is. Could it be the worst of these three? A waste of talent and money. Blumhouse, the boutique production company that specializes in horror, has brought us a movie version of the 70s TV anthology show Fantasy Island. The one where Ricardo Montalban is the enigmatic Mr. Rourke, and he welcomes select people to his remote private island for vacation getaways, magical realizations of their greatest fantasies, and his assistant tattoo, played by the diminutive Hervé Villechaize, shouts, "Deplane! Deplane!" Well, I wanted to deplane after about 20 minutes of this flight. What a twisted, big-screen update of a TV show. Wasn't a fan of the original? but if I recollect, the vacationers leave the island as better or more enlightened people. It's kind of one of those be careful what you wish for cautionary tales, but generally with happy endings. They took that cautionary tale thing to the max. In this update, a handful of people come to the island, including characters played by actors I like, Maggie Q, Jimmy O Yang, and they're greeted by Mr. Rourke, played by the usually reliable Michael Pena, who sets them off on fantasies that turn deadly in dumb, pointless, and perhaps supernatural ways. Don't get me started on the twists. They are eye rollers. Maybe it's black magic. After all, it's called Fantasy Island. Maybe the island is actually the one from Lost. I mean, I kept expecting to see the smoke monster, but he didn't show. This is like if they made a movie version of The Love Boat and turned it into the Love Boat of Doom, or, I don't know, the Hate Boat. At least I now know why the studio put an embargo on the reviews until the morning of release. This is a major stinker. All right, I got to give you respite. It's Valentine's Day when we're recording this. Happy to report that I have a very good, albeit serious movie to recommend, and one that's pretty solid for Valentine's Day in kind of an eye-moistening, dramatic way that avoids cheap sentiment. The title is Ordinary Love. See? Very Valentine-y, but the movie is about the stress and pain brought on when two people in love face mortality. It's a gentle, intimate look at a comfortably married, middle-aged couple, expertly and realistically played by Liam Neeson and Leslie Manville, who must come to grips with an unexpected medical crisis. They live in some British town. They take walks in the morning. They have dinner together. They love one another. And bang, she's diagnosed with breast cancer. And their easy, long-lived, loving relationship is knocked asunder. Ordinary Love isn't a downer, really. It's actually kind of inspiring as this devoted husband and wife navigate their way through a very dark time with the expected and unexpected ups and downs. Again, terrific, believable, lived-in performances by Neeson and Manville. A couple of tears on the Snyder cryometer, but worth the damp cheeks. Just quickly, the photograph is actually a pretty decent, austere and beautifully shot contemporary love story with attractive African-American leads, including Lakeith Stanfield and Issa Rae, who's really pretty wonderful. And apparently the mother had struggles faced in her move from the Deep South to the New York City area, where she pursues a career as a photographer. The two people meet years later. It's pretty lovely stuff. And I do want to recommend a new Shaun the Sheep movie from the Aardman people. Shaun the Sheep is a very charming, funny franchise. And in this case, it's called Farmageddon, and they encounter a lovable alien, and all hell breaks loose. So that's a good one for the kids. So much better than so many other things we get shoved down our throats. What are you watching in TV land, Mr. B?
Well, there's nothing really all that new, going on. So I can't really suggest much, although I watched Katie Keene last night.
Oh, good. What'd you think?
I'm not a teenage girl.
Really?
I'm not. I'm an 80-year-old man, but I thought it was kind of engaging. I thought it was kind of nice. Again, Greg Berlanti knows how to put on a good show. So I don't know if I'm character.
It's the model character from the Archie comics, and they've retooled her for the modern era. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, it's not like something I think I'm going to watch every week. All right, but I thought for what it is and for who it's intended. It's really a very good show. So that was my feeling on that. How'd you feel about the Oscars?
Well, I was surprised and delighted on one level. I was surprised I didn't fall asleep because it's such a bore every year. And on the other hand, I thought, as we discussed, they were going to follow the previous award shows in their in their commendations to Joaquin Phoenix and to Renee Zellweger, despite the fact that particularly the latter did not deserve any kind of award for her impression.
And I tell people this, she was terrible. She was just terrible in that picture.
Yeah, I never saw anyone but Renee Zellweger trying to be some version of Judy Garland, and I just didn't buy it.
Cynthia, what's her name?
Cynthia Erivo should have won for.
Yes.
You're right.
There's no question. If you were to go, folks, and watch Cynthia Erivo in
Harriet.
which, by the way, is a great picture. So if you're thinking of missing it because you think it's black people stuff, it's not. It's more than that, and it's an exceptional performance by her. You compare that performance to Renee Zellweger, and how you can watch the two and give it to Renee Zellweger is beyond me. It's just
Right.
It's incredulous. All right,
It's politics, business politics. It's funny you brought her up. I love Elton John, but Cynthia Erivo and that song from
she got a standing ovation.
Harriet.
She got a standing ovation.
It's kind of a better song, right?
Elton John didn't get a standing ovation. The Elton John song sucks.
I don't get it. I just don't get it. Cynthia Erivo, by the way, is currently, if I'm not mistaken, playing Aretha Franklin on Broadway, or going to, and man, she's got the pipes and the presence. She's a star.
She's amazing, and it's just a real shame. It's a real shame. I wanted 1917 to win for Best Picture. I think if you gave Best Foreign Picture to Parasite, then 1917 should have gotten Best Picture. I don't think having them win 2 Best Picture awards is right. Okay?
Well, I started a hashtag Oscars So Korean, but maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I just, it's a good movie, but it's not it's not the masterwork that 1917 is.
I loved the film. I loved Parasite, and I was happy it won, but I would have been just as happy to see 1917 win. It's a popularity contest. It's a business move. I don't know what to even say about the Oscars anymore. We've said it all a number of times.
And their preoccupation with trying to be so inclusive, their idea of being inclusive is nothing but rap music throughout the entire show.
Well, rap music and Billie Eilish singing a Beatles song.
And by the way, am I wrong? But she can't sing.
She's got an interesting voice. I don't know if
what her interesting voice is. Somebody who can't sing who's trying to.
She's the music's very creative. I really love her records, but I don't think of her as a great singer. She's not like Cynthia Erivo.
You don't have her sing Yesterday. Let me put it that way. Okay.
Now you're talking. That was a bad choice. But I'm interested to hear the theme song she comes up with for the new Bond film, No Time to Die. Yeah. Which, speaking of the Love Boat, has that Love Boat font. That title has.
And by the way, they really. Went out of their way to change up this Oscars, and as a result, lowest rated Oscar ceremony in years.
Really?
Yes, they had a big drop back in 2008. This was worse than that.
Huh? Weird.
Yeah. Well, I think the Oscars have become irrelevant, and they become irrelevant because they don't seem realistic. The awards are just weird. They're strange. Now, Joaquin Phoenix, I go along with that one. When you compare it to the other performances, it's a bravura performance. It's a look at me performance.
Right.
But, outside of that, I felt they got a lot of it wrong. I think they got it right. Best screenwriting for adapted film went to Waititi Kwahudu Vahara.
Taika
Waititi for Jojo Rabbit, which, quite frankly, if I had my choice of the best films of the year, would be the second best film of the year.
And I loved it as well. There were moments and moments. Let's be honest. Sometimes I felt, okay, someone got a good reward, but ultimately the idea of I don't want to harp on this. The idea of award ceremonies in the arts, pitting oranges versus apples, for no better way to explain it, seemed ridiculous to me.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, and I think they're irrelevant, just like primaries are. So. Anyway, so that's how I felt about the Oscars. Glad to know how you felt about them. Why don't you tell them how you feel about where they should go to find you?
Hey, go to Twitter. I'm on Twitter at Culture Blaster, and visit Alex and myself at Facebook, Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page, or Alex's own page is there.
Yeah, or you can go to GABNet.net, where we actually have this contained in our on-demand. Thank you, Michael.
You bet.
And there's more GABNet coming right up, so don't go away. If you're listening to us 24/7, there's a lot of good programming to hear.